So today we are chatting to Kenna Williams, who is the president of Kenna Williams Travel LCC, and she is currently based in Johannesburg. So she's an expat living in Johannesburg and running a travel company. She will share her tips with us on how she has created this company and also how to network and how to leverage on the relationships you have built. So without much further ado, let's cross on over to our interview with Kenna. Hey, Kenna.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I Let's start from the top because I would love for you to introduce yourself to everyone so people can know who you are. Um, just tell us who you are, what you're passionate about, and what makes you tick.
Okay, that was a great question. I am Kenna Williams. Friends call me Pusha Kee. I'm the president of Kenna L. Williams LLC, a travel consulting and travel planning company. What makes me tick? I don't know. I'll have to think about that, but I don't know. Travel, I guess.
You can say that, yeah, definitely. I feel, having followed you on your Facebook and everything, I feel like it's travel, people as well. You seem like a people's person. Tacos.
Yes, definitely tacos.
Yeah. So, currently at the moment, of course, you are in South Africa, and we're all under lockdown. So, can you share a bit with what your experience has been like being in South Africa during this time, and also why are you in South Africa?
Well, a great question again. My experience here being in South Africa under lockdown, it has been an interesting experience for me. I'll say that for sure. We're on day 15 now of day 30 something that we have, 30, 35, whatever it is. I don't even know. It's so many days now that we're here under lockdown here. I tell people it is for our safety. You know, a lot of people, even myself, I'm used to, walking downstairs, getting in an Uber, a boat, going wherever I want to go every day, living a fancy free lifestyle. Now to be confined to my apartment. I have to cook now. These are things that, we're not used to doing, but it's for our safety. So South Africa can, have, yeah, we're going to have cases, but hopefully we're going to have less cases because the president here has, made a conscious decision to say, let's protect our people. So I am on board with this, although, it's hard for a lot of people, but I'm okay with this being safe. Now, your second question, you asked me, why am I in South Africa? Why not?
Yes.
Why not? Why not be here? I had a life epiphany, I guess, a few years ago that I wanted to move overseas. At the time, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. I finally decided to pick on a country, and it was not South Africa at first. So some life, personal things happened, and met someone that didn't work out. Thought I was coming here, and I decided, when our relationship split, let me go ahead and come here anyway. So I've been living here in South Africa since last year. So I'm still new, still green to being here, but no stranger to coming to South Africa, as I have been coming here pretty much yearly since 2014, I believe.
Oh, that's impressive. So that's what, 6 years now since we're in 2020?
Yes.
Yeah. So you said there was another country before South Africa. What was that country? I'm keen to know.
It was Malaysia. Malaysia was the country
Oh,
that I
wow.
thought I wanted to move to. I'd been to Malaysia a few times, and considering that I have a business, I had thought about getting a business visa, going there, checking it out for a few years. But I was thinking, I don't know if I really want to be here. Let me try some other places. And, lo and behold, here I am here in South Africa.
And so There was another question that I had and I totally forgot it because I should have asked both questions in one go.
No. Ask however you like.
So, so far, you've been here for a few months. How have you found South Africa to be in terms of, has it been welcoming? Have you found it easy to, start creating a bigger network of friends? I know that you're the kind of person who just gets up and goes and gets things done. So, how has it been for you so far? Has it been a welcoming environment? Let's, put it that way.
Since I've been here, I would say it has been a welcoming environment. I like to joke that my accent gives me away. I jokingly tell people that, I don't drive here, so I take boat and Uber a lot. So I meet a lot of drivers where, hey, I'll strike up conversation with them to say, hey, what song is that? Next thing you know, oh, you're from here. They hear my accent and it's just, leads into different conversations. People will tell me about places where to eat, where to go, and things of that nature. So people have been very welcoming to me
Mm-hmm.
here. And I also try to spend a little bit of time getting to know people, whether it's the service person in my building,
Mm-hmm.
just generally talking to people. And I also spend time going to seminars. One thing I've noticed here on my
Mm-hmm.
Facebook page, I originally had my location as being in California, and I didn't change it until maybe earlier this year
Yeah.
to South Africa. When I changed it to South Africa, my feed totally changed, where I started seeing seminars that were available and they were free to attend. So a lot of times I go to free seminars to learn different things about travel, learn
Mm-hmm.
about different countries, learn about
Mm-hmm.
different courses I can take. So that's
Yeah.
probably been a really good highlight. So I've met people at these events, exchange phone numbers, and get
Mm-hmm.
calls. And sometimes I go, try to mentor people if I can. So I try to stay busy here as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Absolutely. And you do a really good job of it, I would say. Now, you've been bringing in people every year to come and visit South Africa, and groups from the US, and generally about 100 people at a time that have been coming with you. And how has that experience been, and how do you think it's going to, being here, evolves that experience?
I
It's a
think
broad
now that
question.
no, but it's a great question. I've been bringing people here since 2018. Our first group in
Mhm.
2018, we had 100. 2019, I think I had 127.
Impressive.
This year, on task to bring 110, provided, Corona COVID-19 will cease here. So I think living here gives me a little bit more credibility, if you will.
Hmm.
I'm finding new places that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Like there's a whiskey bar that's like not too far from here. I was like, oh wow, this place is cool. Or the photography sessions in Maboneng,
Yeah.
or trendy places and things of that nature. So I have more time here to explore the region, explore people, places, and things of that nature. So it's so interesting you should ask me this question, because in our the the Facebook group that I have for this particular trip, every time I go somewhere new, I post up, hey, check out this place. Look at this place.
Hmm.
You're gonna come here when you get here. Check out this spot, or check out this bar, or check out this restaurant, or things of that nature. So it makes people, interested and want to come here, and it's
Hmm.
like they feel like they have someone here that I don't know everything here. I will probably never know everything
You
here.
know
I could probably live here for
everything.
10 years and 15 years and never know everything. But I'm getting to the point where I am learning more more of this place.
The funny thing, what I found at Johannesburg when I moved here, which was about 2004, is that I find that every time I meet someone who's not from Johannesburg or South Africa, they tend to know more about the new things that are happening in Johannesburg than I do. So I end up learning from them, or discovering a new place from them. I'll give you an example. The Korean restaurant that you and Diamond went to.
Diamond.
Yes. When I saw that post, I was like, I've driven past that area so many times, I've never noticed that restaurant. And purely because of your post, I actually went there to check it out and loved the cuisine and everything. But it just shows you that sometimes, even as a local, that we have things that we don't know. And because sometimes we get so stuck in our patterns of doing things the way we used to doing them, that we actually, end up not discovering new things. So I always find that there's always a lot to learn from each other. Now,
Yeah, that's a very good point. I would say that for indeed. I you know I because of one of our mutual friends, the first Wednesday of every month I go to there's a group called the First Wednesday Crew. So the first Wednesday of the month we go see free movies down in somewhere I don't even know. I just go with Deanna, and do that, and then I do comedy club during the week. Then I go hear a jazz band also during the week, and my friends are like, "Oh my God, your schedule is full." I was like, "I know," and they're like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just look, and these things pop up."
yeah, absolutely. I think that's the key thing is, you plug into it when it pops up, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So another thing with having your company and bringing people across, not just to South Africa but across the world, you have, I know that there's that trip that you do to where your grandma is.
Fiji, yeah, that's
Fiji,
Fiji.
yes. The words Fiji, I couldn't find it there. I was flipping through the files. I'm like, come on. So there's Fiji and Bali. So how have all your clients taken this, with all the implications of COVID-19, with people not being able to have air access and with borders being blocked in certain countries? How has your clientele taken the news, essentially? Because when you build a lot of hype prior to your trips, and people get so excited. I even get excited, and I'm not even going on the trip. So how have they taken the news and the impact of COVID-19 on their travel life?
Well, that's this. I was telling a friend that this is one of those things where nobody could have predicted this. I mean, it was just not something that we could have predicted at all. Fortunately, the clients that I have, they have been very understanding. I've offered various solutions as much as possible, such as rescheduling some of the trips. Right now, I do roughly about 12 trips a year, and
Okay.
currently I've canceled four of those trips. They were four group trips to Bali. So those have been canceled to 2021. Offered people, the opportunity to move to a different trip that I have, or move to next year's trip, or to, switch to something else that I offer. So most of the clients, they have been very, and let me not say most, let me say all, because I have not received any negative report from anyone. Most of the people that I have that travel with me, they've traveled with me for years, for other places that I have had trips to. So they understand that this is something that is, it's really not really within my control. I mean, I wish I
Yeah.
could come up and do a bing and change everything, but that's just
Bing.
impossible. Bing, fix everything, but that's just impossible. But for the time being, all of my clients currently, they've been very receptive, and I've tried to offer them, the best possible solutions, such as rescheduling the trip, because I was telling people I am in groups with other people that do the same thing that I do, and when you're running a business, you sign contracts, and some of these contracts you cannot get out of them. So, I think people are pretty much understanding of that, and being very supportive, which I definitely appreciate. Don't take it lightly that people continue to hold trust in what I do and my company to give them a travel experience.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is that, I mean, to be able to have clients who 100% positively stand with you in a time like this has to do with the rapport you've built with them. Could you share some of your tips on how to build good rapport with your clientele?
The biggest thing is to be honest, open, and upfront with everyone. And I've been doing this for a few years now, so people know me, and they know I'm not. There. I've heard situations where someone may have, taken a client's money or something like that. Me, I don't have the conscience to do that. I just don't have the conscience to do anything like that. So I was taught as a child by my parents to always be honest, open, upfront. And the biggest thing is being accessible. A lot of my clients are my Facebook friends, so they may contact me anytime they want. My phone number is not a fake Google number or anything. It's a real, it's a real phone number that, someone can contact me on. They can contact me through my business number, regardless, whatever. That just to be accessible to them. And if I've had any issues on trips, I've had issues on trips where things didn't go right. You do the best that you can do to fix the issues right there on the spot. So that's, something that people have seen, being consistent basically
Yeah,
is the key. Is the
yeah,
key.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's important because we all know as long as you travel, you know that anything can happen. You've had that with your Panama incident as well, which was
Mhm.
really life changing. And
It was very
perhaps
good.
you could share with us the you know the your story there, because
Okay.
to come back from something like that isn't easy, and to come back so positively. I've never been through something like that, but I can only imagine what it must feel like to have to recover and basically restart.
Yeah, that was one of those things where, for those that don't know that are listening, in January 2015, me along with other people, we were, here my phone's ringing, we were in Panama, on a regular trip every January we would go to Panama to go hang out, enjoy the scenes, the food, whatever, the culture there. And on this particular trip, we were going to visit a friend's relative for lunch. And our vehicle, unfortunately, we were going downhill, and the driver said, the brakes aren't working. And next thing I know, we went over a cliff. So in that accident, two people unfortunately lost their lives, and everybody in that accident was injured. Either you had a broken back, broken leg, broken ankle, you were cut up severely, hospitalized, or whatever. So with that particular experience, I was hospitalized in Panama, flew back to the States, had surgery in the States, ended up staying with my parents for 4 months. Woo, Lord. Um, it's rough to stay with your parents as an adult. It's really hard. Really hard.
It's true.
But
It's true.
that it's really it's really hard. But I needed their help. They know, that I needed their help. But that
Yeah.
particular experience gave me, it's so cliche to say this, a second chance at life. So I took that experience to say, you know what, anything that has happened to me, anything that I have messed up in life, let me go back and fix these things now. During that frame, um, I was married before, so I had an ex-husband. And I called my ex-husband. I apologized to him for whatever I had put him through. And it was so funny because he was like, "Are you on drugs?" I was like, "Well, I am in the hospital, to, whatever they've
He's
got wrong
like,
with
to
me." He was
what
like,
do I owe this?
yeah, he was like, "Are you on drugs?" I was like, "Well, I guess you could kind of say." So, basically, just took that and said, "Let me go for the no holds barred approach of life."
Yeah.
I developed the attitude where I didn't care what people thought about me, could care less what their opinions were. I was just going to do whatever I wanted to do. So from January to April, I would stay with my parents, recovering. Flew back to California in April. The next month, I was in Brazil. I was in
Mm-hmm.
Brazil with my travel base and, just living life because I decided, although, I've had this injury, mentally you have a bit of time where you have to regain your mental capacities back and just say, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, I'm just going to live. I'm going to live the best way that I can, even if people, they don't understand it or whatever. I'm just going to do it. And that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years, just basically living life on my terms, not caring what people think, although a lot of people don't like
Mm-hmm.
my decisions. But I have to remind people, I'm over 40 something years old. I think I can do what I want to do.
Yeah, yeah, and you always take responsibility for your decisions, and I think that's the key thing. If you take responsibility for your decisions, then so be it. Go do what you want to do. You're not taking the decisions that you make and making them other people's problems. You know what I mean? So I think that's a key part. And if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, so you now have a trip as well that goes to Panama every year, or not?
Yes, I do. Hmm.
So not only did you recover, you also turned, you continued to actually bring people and business to that country, which is
Hmm.
phenomenal. Well,
Well,
I think it's phenomenal.
yeah, I tell people that there are some people in my that were in an accident with me that they have not been back to Panama, and I understand why because the first trip back was an emotional trip because you are basically I tell people this: if you had a life altering experience, wherever
Hmm.
that life altering experience was, that place now becomes your birthplace. That is your home place. So although I'm
Hmm.
not Panamanian,
That's
I tell people
powerful.
I'm right. I tell people I'm at this point, I'm Panamanian. It's tattooed on my back. So I'm technically Panamanian. They won't give me
Hmm.
citizenship, but I can pretend. But I'm always in Panama at least twice
Yeah.
a year. Sometimes I go back to the hospital where I was hospitalized there for a week, and I just
Hmm.
stand there, look at the hospital, and just remember this is where I came from. This is where my new life started from there. So,
Hmm.
you know, so you go back. So because at this point it is home in a sense. It's your new home.
Yeah. So even tragedy can be turned around to rebirth, essentially. That's
Yes,
that's a
exactly.
hell of a lesson. That's a hell of a lesson because when one thinks of how it's so hard to turn one's thinking around from a place of tragedy to a place of rebirth. So thank you for teaching us that. You also, I think, part of your story in the book, "Those Who Travel Meet Themselves," um, includes a bit about the Panama story, and I really
Yes.
appreciate that. And your grandma, and the role she played in your life. I think that's,
Yes.
you know. So do you think that part of your adventurous spirit is kind of genetically predisposed due to the fact that your grandma was adventurous? Is there someone else in your family who was also, entrepreneurial and creative in the manner that you are, or similar?
Um, I don't know. I will say this. As far as with travel, being in the bloodline, my grandmother, as I mentioned, she was a person that loved to go places. She traveled a lot, and we used to joke that at the time I lived in California in the States, and my grandmother lived in Mississippi, and she had traveled to see me the most more than anybody else in my family. Which you
Mm-hmm.
would think that, oh, why isn't your mother or your father coming? But my grandmother, oh, I'm on the way, I'm on the plane, coming to see you. I'm like, oh, okay. So, but she liked to travel. But in my family, we have a famous explorer that Matthew Henson,
Mm-hmm.
who did a lot of work with Sir Edmund Hillary, So I like to claim that as part of my bloodline. So although it's
Yeah.
so far in the bloodline, I like to say I have a few sprinkles of that, which is why I'm living somewhere else or trying to do something that is I won't say it's unique. It's just different, something that I choose to do to explore and continue to expand my life through living in a different country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, even though it's far back, I think sometimes those kind of that spread within. I think it's continued on. I don't think that it just drops off because that person has passed on. I think it continues in different ways and rears its head harder in certain
Mm-hmm.
generations. So I might be wrong. I'm not a geneticist, but I think sometimes things are generational.
Well, maybe I have some cousins that are close to my age that they love to travel as
Yeah,
well. I have an operations manager for my company.
yeah.
She's my cousin, and she loves to travel as well. So I think the people that hit our particular generation in my family, they like to
Mm-hmm.
go places. They are to get up and go. Like, oh, you want to
Yeah,
go? Okay, let's go. And that's
yeah.
the way we've been.
Well, that's good. That's fantastic. And it's also good that, keeping it in the family as well works because chances are she gets your work ethic.
Well, that's so true. A lot of people. I said maybe this year or next year, I'm probably going to hire another person to do some work. I haven't really decided what that position is going to be called or what that person will actually be doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my operations manager, she always tells people, "Do you think you want to work for her?" Just like you think you want to work for her. But I'm laughing because she is actually she is amazing. I have to admit, she's probably one of the few people that get me on a most people know me from my my regular everyday lifestyle. But on a
Yes.
business perspective, I'm a totally different person.
Yeah.
Totally different on the background because at that point I am
Yes. You want things
that.
done properly
Yes.
and
Yes.
professionally because
Yes.
you have a
Yes.
reputation to upkeep and best people understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I understand that because
Yes.
you can have a great time partying together, but work
Yes.
is work. And I think
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's a difficult thing because often people will say, oh, what you call this, hiring family is so problematic. But I
Mm-hmm.
read an article where there was a guy, he was from India and he was looking after a grocery chain. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, what happened is he was hiring family members and people from home and bringing them into the business. And
Mm-hmm.
part of his reasoning was they understand his work ethic and they're willing to work at the rate he wants them to work, and not rate as in money, but as in the amount of effort that he wants from them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the thing, it's not just about being family, but it's these things like rate of effort you are willing to put in to this business.
Right. And she like I said, her name is Veronica. She understands me very well, and it's to the point where sometimes she's probably I'll say that's one of the few people that I'll bounce ideas off of her and I'll send her something and she'll be like, oh no, is that what you were thinking? No. I'm like, okay, okay, no. So it's
I
good
love
to
that.
have that. And she's not afraid to
Tell you.
kick back. Hmm.
Yeah. She doesn't say, oh, Kina, that was great. Everything is great. That also, again, is problematic. You can't have a yes
Right.
person all the time. Yeah. So for people who have businesses in the same industries, let's use it for the South African context, right?
Hmm.
We have a lot of young and upcoming um, people setting up um, travel companies to give more Black South Africans, because a good portion of their business is focused on Black South Africans, particularly because of our history apartheid. We weren't traveling as much because we were confined to certain spaces and spaces for non-whites. So we couldn't just enjoy the length and breadth of the land.
Mhm.
So with that, what kind of startup advice would you share as another business person to another business person, um, in terms of after COVID-19, moving forward? What should they be thinking of? Where should their minds be? Well, not minds, but yeah, you get what I'm saying, I
Yes,
hope.
I understand. This is such a great question. I have there's a hotel here that I do business with when I bring my groups here, and one of the young ladies there, she approached me, and actually been doing a little bit of mentoring session with her because she wants to
Mm-hmm.
do something similar, but in a different type of way. I think at this point, I would tell people that if you have an ideal rather, start working on it now. Don't wait until the end of COVID-19. Although I will say, you may need a little bit of time to rest because a lot of people are stressed out at these days. You're just trying to make it through the week, through these next 3 weeks that we
Mm-hmm.
have here. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have just a little bit of time, to work on your idea, please do that.
Yeah.
Press people to, I told the person for what she wants to do. I thought she had a really great idea. Number one, get a website. Get a website that doesn't cost you a lot of money. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Start talking to vendors because right now, after this is over, vendors are going to want to work with you and they're going to want to give you, I don't want to say deals, but they're going to want to get funding because they need to build back up their reserves. So this
Yeah.
is prior to the chance to be sending out emails. I did this recently. My vendors here in South Africa, I started emailing them to say, hey, how are you guys doing? Are you guys doing
Mm-hmm.
okay? I know you guys
Mm-hmm.
are down. Just want to check on you, say hello, see what's going on. So I
Mm-hmm.
think stand in their face, constant communication with them, get involved with such organizations as I think it's the SATSB, I think it's called, one
Yes,
of the
South African
tours,
tourism.
right, the tourism board, these seminars that pop up on Facebook that I see, go to those meetings. And
Mm-hmm.
if you know someone that's in the industry, talk to them. They might not tell you everything, but they may tell you bits and pieces of things that work for them. If they've had issues, how they've solved them. Because woo-wee, I tell
Mm-hmm.
people, these operations are not smooth operations. They may look like it, but they're not smooth operations. So,
Absolutely.
especially with so many people, but basically to talk to people that are in the industry, go to groups, events, go to these conferences, seminars, networking with people, exchanging. I didn't realize this in the States. We really don't pass business cards around. We just don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I went to a event here, and I was floored because it was passing. I'm over here like,
Everywhere.
my God, we don't do this because we don't do this. No, we don't do this in the States. I mean, we have business cards, but it's not a major thing. I think a lot of people just assume, oh, just pull up my website and there I am. No, not here. It is that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Speed dating, essentially.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like it's
like,
network
hi, this is what
dating.
I
So
do. Here's my card. Let's get
yes,
involved. What can we
yes,
do? Yeah.
yes,
So
exactly.
and I think I always say there's nothing wrong with all that business card interchange, right? And except if you're not going to use those cards. Best you use
Yes,
those cards, because the big thing is
yes.
getting back and actually sending emails almost immediately uh,
Mm-hmm.
from arriving back from whatever function you were at. Because in this industry, you see so many people that if you're going to send someone an email a week from the time you saw them, chances are they
They don't even
vaguely remember
remember.
you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
lucky if they do. So I
Exactly.
think key
Exactly.
thing is, yes, take the cards, but also make sure that you actually, what you call this, get yourself, email them, talk to them,
Mm-hmm.
get in
Mm-hmm.
touch, you know.
Definitely. Definitely.
So
Definitely. But yeah,
yeah,
just But that was, like I say, some solid advice to get, for someone that's new and starting out. Even for myself, I remember um, starting out, I really didn't even know what I was doing, because originally I was not set up as a company. I was just doing this for fun. And then I
Mm-hmm.
realized that why am I doing this for fun, and people are doing this for, they're making a living out of this, and I'm over here doing this
Yeah.
for free. And it was work. It was so much work, so much work. And then I realized, a friend of mine told me, she says, why are you not a business? You're just doing this for fun, but you're actually functioning as a business. So
Yeah.
I took that information, and I told the young lady here, I said, set yourself up as a business. Go down to the office, register yourself as a business, register
Mm-hmm.
your website or whatever the name you want to be, trademark
Mm-hmm.
it if you need to, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And, be an official business, because, I was putting in work and not realizing, Kina, what
How
are you
much work you're
doing?
actually putting in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
sometimes, I
So,
mean, you just enjoy something. So you're like, oh, I'm just going to do it. We're going to have fun. And then you
mhm,
realize that the amount of work that you've put in is immense. So
mhm.
actually, there should be, what you call this, uh, an amount of pay that goes into
Yeah,
this. So good
yeah.
on you for actually, coming to that realization as well. Because often people struggle as well to start charging after they've been doing something for free.
hmm Well, that's very true. I tell people I had a full time job. I used to be an aerospace engineer. I would spend my days, at work, leave work, come home. I'd be up late at night, so 1 o'clock in the morning, processing everything, talking to vendors in other countries or what have you. Go to bed, get up, go to work. Oh my gosh, coming back. Next thing you know, I'm like, what am I
Mm,
doing?
mm.
So I obviously I left my job, and decided to pursue this full time. But yeah, that's one thing. Just realize that what you have is, it could really be something that's life sustaining. So just look at
Mm-hmm.
that. But
Yeah.
I didn't quit my job right away. I waited. I waited.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah, because
waited.
that's also the other thing is you need to see if there's not validity, but the if you can make it with
hmm
that, with everything. And I understand not quitting immediately and rather looking at whether you will actually make a sustainable income that will be able to sustain you and continue to grow the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's too hard to, at least for me personally, it gets to the point where, if you are working for a company and you're also trying to work for yourself,
Yeah.
something, I mean, not that people can't do it, but something has to give. Or one, you may, the job that you have that you're working for someone else, that may suffer,
Yeah.
versus your business, because when it's your business, that's your baby. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's my baby. And
Yeah.
if that's your baby, you're going to do everything that you can do to make that baby survive. So you want that
Mm-hmm.
baby to live, you want that baby to thrive. So that's one of the reasons, of many, that I decided to walk away from the position that I had.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's brave. Not only did you walk away, you walked away and left the country, girl.
I did. Although people think I'm
You
crazy.
People think a lot of things, honey.
Yeah, they
They think a
do.
lot of things. If you're gonna spend your life worrying about other people, it's gonna be a long, dreary life, I tell
Yes,
you.
it will be. Yes,
So,
it will be.
any last words for us before you go? For any words of be it motivation or just, oh, actually, where can people follow you? I already know where to follow you, but where can people follow you and how do they link up with you?
Most people follow me on my Instagram page, which is Just Me Kina. That's JustMeKenna, is where most people find me. You can also find me on Facebook, under my name, Kenna, last name Williams. You can also find me on my website, www.kennalwilliamsllc.com, or you can ask Michelle. She knows how to find me.
That's true, I do. I think
But
after
go
COVID, we
ahead.
should have a little session with some of the local ladies, if any of them, not local ladies, but mixed group of people who are also in the industry, and just re-network.
That's actually a great idea because, I think at this point, I don't know, that's another topic of discussion because a lot of people during this time, especially in business, even myself personally, I'm trying to be very sensitive to people during this time because I have deadlines for things and I'm just like saying whatever, whatever.
Mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm,
deadlines are they are what they are, but I'm allowing people to slide deadlines, push them
mm-hmm.
out because if you have to make a choice between paying your rent and paying for a trip, that rent's going to get paid, and I understand that. So,
Yeah.
basically trying to be a little bit sensitive during this time, but also know and try to give people hope that this is not forever. My father would say, well, my father was a church musician, and
Mm-hmm,
he would play the piano and organ. He also used to sing, and he would sing this
mm-hmm,
song called "Trouble Don't Last Always." So I think we have to look at this and say, although this is an extreme hardship for most people, trouble
mm-hmm,
don't last always. So let us look towards the future. Let's look at, okay, you have a trip to Fiji in October. I've got Dubai in October. I've got my group coming here to South Africa in November.
mm-hmm.
I've got a trip in August, whatever. Let me do as much forward positive thinking as I possibly can do. And for whatever reason, if we get to that point and the borders are not open in the States, the borders are not open in
Mm-hmm.
Peru, Panama, South Africa, whatever, let us say, you know what, we still have our life, but let us
Mm-hmm.
still continue to be positives and know, yes, we're going to make it one day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Kina. And thank you for making the time to chat with us. So,
Anytime.
yes. And I will chat to you soon. And I'm looking forward to having some fun with you after COVID-19.
Yes, yes, wine at my place.
Yay! Definitely. I mean, yeah. True that. I won't even continue because I'm just like, girl. Oh, thank you so much. Mwah. Chat soon.
All right, take care. Bye
Okay,
bye.
then. Bye. Did you enjoy that? If you did, make sure that you click on the subscribe button and like and share this with everyone. Also, leave us a comment with your feedback. And if you'd like to be in touch with Kina, drop us an email at michelle@vochlife.com. Otherwise, if you'd like a copy of the book, also drop us an email at michelle@vochlife.com. Thank you for tuning in and see you soon.